Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 271, the board secretary closed doors of the meeting to be given to the public in the principal January 5th, 2017. Mrs. Atherton, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Garner?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Munoz?
Here.
Mrs. Janis?
Here.
Mr. Silverstein?
Here.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Here.
Mr. Walcott?
Here.
Mrs. Zilberschlag?
Here.
Mrs. Cornelison?
Here. Okay. We are not going into close, so let's please stand and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Atherton, would you please give us the communications?
Yes. First in your packet was the letter from the estate of Margaret Gerst. She taught in the district, and we were able to receive from two people who had worked with her two comments about her, which I thought we should share tonight. The Margaret that Terry Ponce, who was our SEA president and a teacher at FMG, remembered about her was that there was never such a thing as a bad child. All children were good and special to her, and other teachers could be exasperated by a student, but she would always gently smile and tout the child's goodness. She was extremely knowledgeable in her field. She knew her literature and the mechanics of writing. She loved to read classics to modern fiction. And I never heard her raise her voice to anyone. She was gentle and caring, and it was obvious she loved her chosen career. Mr. Ken Burnaby, who happened to be her principal during her years when she was at FMG, said she was the longest standing member of the faculty at FMG when he was serving as the principal. She was one of the kindest, generous, and most considerate people he had ever met. She derived great satisfaction in working with her students and watching them succeed, especially in the area of reading. She was very successful with those students who required additional motivation and support, and she never turned a student down when a student sought her help. She was a great faculty member who always looked for the goodness in everyone. And if you read the letter, it is because they made a donation in her name from her estate. Second is, go ahead.
I think it'd be a really nice thing if we can maybe send these comments to her sons who sent us the letter and just say, or point them to when we post our video from the meeting, to just point them to that point so they can, sorry.
Okay.
So they would be able to see it, because I think that would mean a lot to them.
Absolutely.
I will make sure Matt takes care of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll keep the pencil.
UCSBA has a monthly meeting, celebrations past and present, on May 17th. NJSBA has a workshop 2017, October 23rd through the 26th. And of course, all of these, if you plan on attending, please contact Matt, and he will make sure to get you on. NJSBA, Green, STEAM, the Arts and Sustainability, April 29th. The next one is School Security and Student Safety Conference, June 2nd. Weekly program updates, March 31st, April 6th, and the 20th were in your communications. School board notes, April 5th and the 19th. The GSCA News and Notes, March 31st and April 7th, April 3rd and April 20th. The National School Boards Association National Connections News Bites, April 6th and 20th. And the National School Boards Association National Connection Daily, March 31st through April 21st. And I do have a change to the agenda under personnel. The first line was for Giamenco Alicia, Summer School Director, District. The salary has been changed to $7,540.35. It's on, the public is aware of it, so a new one will be sent accordingly. That's all I have for communications.
I move to approve we're going into right. I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 3rd, 2017.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Silverstein, seconded by Mr. Munoz. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, at this time, we are going to move on to the, actually, the public hearing. Superintendent's report, sorry, it's not on there, that's why. I know, they flip-flop.
Public input first.
Public hearing comes first.
So the public hearings first,
Yes,
all right?
here's Wayne.
Mhm.
Set it up.
Set it up.
Budget presentation.
And where do you want it to go, Mike? To this one, or budget?
Send it to both, so
Okay.
that they don't have to twist their necks.
You heard that one? Okay.
Also because the lights aren't off, but, you know what I mean?
For what?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was saying, like, if you turn it off, it looks better, but, yeah, get this back, you can see this wall, the lights on, it's nice.
Why?
Good. Okay. Obviously, in Matt's absence this evening, I'll be presenting the budget for public hearing this evening. This is, I believe, the third presentation, and I'll use Matt's PowerPoint to kind of bring us through each of the slides. And if you will, if there are any questions, please jot them down. If there's something that we can answer this evening, we'll do so. If not, I will make sure that we have an answer for you during the week. We've pretty much gone through everything and vetted everything, but just in case there's an issue. So, Matt always starts off with our mission statement. The schools are organized and the budget is prepared. And as we discussed in several of our meetings this evening, in committee meetings, the purpose of the district is to provide our children with the best educational program we may be able to provide. And sometimes, again, for those of you that weren't in those committee meetings, the optics may not always work for a monthly magazine or a newspaper, but they work for kids, and that's what's most important to us. And we try to communicate what those differences are, but we're more concerned about the results than the optics. This is a summary of the budget timelines that we follow. Summer through October, we review goals and programs. November through January, our budget managers are preparing and submitting budget requests. January through February, budget are pulled together. Salaries, benefits, school and department budgets, and all cap requirements. For those of you that wondered, that's the 2-month period that Matt's kind of out of touch with everyone because we don't lock him in his room. We do make sure that he works diligently with his exceptional staff in getting everything ready for presentation to this board and to the public. February, principals, department directors, and business administrator meet. They meet for the first time, in which Matt kind of guides them in adjusting their budgets to fit within the parameters that we know are coming forward. Then again, there's a second meeting in which they all meet with Matt and the superintendent, and we review their alignment with the goals and the objectives of the school district. And then in January through April, they prep their board presentations and budget presentations. May through August, after the budget is approved, MAP begins the process of formulating the purchase orders for the upcoming school year so that we can pretty much assure that everything is delivered as quickly as possible and ready for dissemination and implementation within the schools. This is a graphic that shows exactly what the school district's population growth and history has been. And as you can see, from 1997 to 98, there were 1,678 pupils. And in 2017-18, we are projecting 2,236 students within the 5 schools inside the district. It's a graphical representation as well. And the proposed budget is $42,067,375. This represents a decrease from the revised 2016-17 working budget of $2,555,000, which is about 5.73%. And by funds, the general fund being decreased by $2,247,326. The special revenue fund decreased by $113,864, and debt service fund decreased by $4,000. The 2017-18 proposed tentative budget of $42,067,375. Overall, the proposed budget represents an increase from the 2016-17 working budget as an increase of $780,000, $780,376, or an overall increase of 1.89%. The general fund is increased by $806,078, or 2.03%. That gets offset by a reduction in the special revenue fund, decreased by $21,702, 3.47%, and a decrease in the debt service fund by $4,000, or negative 0.41%, which brings you to the 1.89 overall increase. This budget addresses many issues included in that. You can see there 9 standard areas and updates, revisions, and of current curriculum and implementation of some new curriculum. One of those, as an example, we'll be instituting a new AP course next year. The AP Computer Science Principles. And the difference there is that, and I just went to a workshop on this, it will be a computer science course in which the teacher is making the determination as to whether or not there will be Java components in there. And it's a brand new course, and we are one of the districts that is implementing it in its first year, and we'll be sending a staff member for training. All of that is included along with, as we said, curricular updates and revisions. Additionally, we do anticipate a reduction in federal dollars. We additionally look for and have incorporated, Matt's incorporated into this whole budget process, contractual obligations. Namely, we have increases in projected increases in transportation costs, projected increases in lease purchase payments, salary updates and negotiated salaries across all collective bargaining units, increases in employee health benefits and other district insurance, as well as incorporating that as health, dental, prescription, and our general liabilities, which is property and casualty. The anticipated improvements in our capital projects are three areas to remind you. I know that we've gone over them, but room 222 of the high school will have a renovation, which will update it to supplement and prepare students in culinary arts with an introductory level type classes in that space to really support a very vibrant program in advanced culinary arts in our culinary arts laboratory. We are also working on the auditorium, upgrading sound and lighting, and repairing or updating the entire balcony to make it viable for seating for future performances and expanding our ability to add additional visitors to our performances. So that's all incorporated in this budget, as well as at the middle school. The old wood shop at the middle school will be updated and upgraded into a full robotics lab over the summer. So we anticipate some advanced robotics and coding coursework at the high school and the middle school, and the middle school students will have access to some advanced robotics opportunities coming before they come into the high school. These are the graphs showing our results on Park ELA through the different grades. I know the board, each of you have copies of this. We're analyzing these scores, and one of the things that we notice as we go along, we only have 2 years of data. That data really doesn't, provide you with a great deal of projective information, but it certainly does indicate to us that as a general trend in 2 years, we see upticks in our scores. That said, when you analyze every score, every grade, every area of math and ELA, we find those anomalies that we try to identify why there is a huge spike up or a drop in some areas. We've identified those and we'll keep looking at them, but we really are looking forward to adding our 2016-17 scores, which we hope to get sometime in July, which begins to provide us with 3-year trends and a more viable understanding of what's going on with our students and their capacity to reach proficiency and advanced proficiency on the Park exams. As you can see, again, the graphs give you a pretty good identification of a pretty standard improvement level in 4s and 5s going forward over the years. And you can see, the color coding gives you an opportunity to see that spike or that decline and give you an immediate graphical representation of what area we need to delve into more deeply. One of the things when we look at Park scores, you see here, I think this is very critical as an understanding when members of the community are asking questions. It's sometimes difficult because presentation in the media does not always address the realities of what testing is taking place, what that testing means to us as educators, and how we assess the import of that testing. Unfortunately, some people say we just spin things. The reality of it is that everything's a spin. You've got to take a look at it and see exactly what it is and be able to make adjustments as you go along and be able to explain why certain things happen, whether they be bump up and bump down. Those of you that have been on the board for a while know that I consistently make one statement: don't get too high when the scores are real good, and don't get too low when they're down, because there are too many variables for anyone to really predict for. We can make adjustments and we can address them to some degree, but no one has direct control, because every child is an individual, and the things that impact them when they take these tests are things that we cannot prepare for. Being parents, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir about that, but it's the reality of how data runs into humanity, and how do you assess that? It doesn't mean that you ignore it, but it does mean that you look at it with a critical eye as to what do I have control over, what can I address, and make sure that we address it when we can. And so you look at the ELA scores, which brings me to, we go through math, and again, you can see the color code showing you different levels of improvement, et cetera, and areas where there may be a slight drop. But here's where it gets interesting. Math is a very strange area for PARCC assessments, school report cards, and magazine articles. As you notice, you see there PARCC Math Algebra, Math Geometry, and Math Algebra 2. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Those scores, unfortunately, do not include all of our students that take those algebra and geometry tests in 7th and 8th grade. And the reason is, you'll notice it says PARCC Math, Algebra, Geometry. They don't include them in the high school scores, even though kids take them. And so the data isn't always representative of what's happening. And that is going to become abundantly clear in the report card. But the data for the PARCC exams, which we'll be putting out, particularly when we get the 16-17 data, and we're going to be able to show you a 3-year projection, you'll have a better idea exactly how students are progressing, because you'll be able to see kids in their natural progression, which is as a cohort, which is a more reasonable and a more legitimate assessment. Are the kids scoring better as they move along, rather than comparing this year's 9th grade to next year's 9th grade? They're two different groups of kids, and it's not a complete comparison. These are the science scores on the New Jersey Ask. The first question we ask is, no pun intended, what happened to NJ Ask 8? And does anybody want to hazard a guess? It's called Next Generation Science Standards. The change in the science standards to a much more rigorous, totally different, integrated approach to science, which took place 2 years ago. And so while you see no legitimate or no significant change in the 4th grade, where it's much simpler in terms of its components and its presentation, the impact on the 8th grade was dramatic, and dramatic across the board. And we have begun, as Ms. Scudero will tell you, we've been modifying our curriculum in middle school and in the high school to adjust to next generation science standards. SAT scores. SATs changed again. They dropped back from the 2,400 score. And an analysis of our scores shows that our current scores are pretty much in line and in keeping with our previous scores. The results have been I wouldn't say flat, but there's not a great deal of fluctuation in those scores. Although we do see, and we have heard of some changes in how kids are taking tests today. We did an informal survey of our high school students, particularly 11th and 12th graders. And it seems that when kids go to tutorial programs, et cetera, they're being guided to SATs or ACTs based upon preliminary tests. And it really does change what your scores, what your average scores are going to be to some extent. And we've undertaken a policy that we've discussed with our guidance department and our principals that we believe that students should take both the SAT and the ACT and look and see where they feel more comfortable and better before they send their scores off to the colleges and universities they're applying to, and to make sure that the college or university doesn't hold one test in a higher standing than another, because you can make the error of thinking, I'll do better on one test, have that sent in, and the university or college feels that the other test was a more reliable measure, and you're not sending them a score that they would have been happy with, and they just discount one of the others. So it's something, again, as board members and for members of the community, our recommendation is that students take both the SAT and the ACT and give themselves their best opportunity to score high in both exams. These are more scores on comparing nationally. Our AP scores have held pretty stable. We've had some upticks. For the members of the public that would wonder, we have an open AP policy. If you want to take an AP course, all you have to do is sign up for it when you prepare your program with your guidance counselor. We have no recommendation or prerequisite requirements. You just have to be willing to put the time, effort, and work in, because the course is not watered down at all. Our belief system, again, is that we honor those students who will push themselves to higher levels of rigor rather than taking an easier way out. And to get to the final numbers, you all have these, and this is Matt Clark territory.
This is when he gets very lively in the presentation.
This is his high point, as they say. We do utilize site-based management. When I got here in 2004, Matt and I discussed budgeting and how we budget, and I came from a background of site-based budgeting, giving principals the opportunity to have a budget to be able to apply to their school as they saw fit. And we developed a site-based decision-making budget at that time. These are the allocations that each level will receive during the year. And those allocations are those are per pupil dollars allocated based on the October 15th register. They then have that budget to operate with during the school year. And then as we get closer towards the end of the year, Matt forewarns them when he's ready to shut the budget down, and they get their last opportunity to spend their allocated dollars. These are the benefits and staffing. We have the medical programs we offer are PPO, POS, direct access, and EPO. And staffing, we have 198 teachers, 79 aides, 35 custodians, maintenance, transportation, and technology, 22 secretaries, 5 supervisors, 5 principals, 6 central office administration, for a total of 350 employees. Once again, Matt's numbers working out. This is the tentative budget appropriation. The critical number, as you can see, is down in the lower right-hand corner. All those blues, reds, and black numbers add up to the most critical aspect, which is a 1.89% original. It's a nice color wheel of where all the money is going. What's critical to understand there is the areas that are most heavily spent, and you can see that up on top. This is the tentative budget appropriations in the general fund. And by categories and programs, as you can see, 50.71% is in salaries, 17% in benefits, and the rest of the budget adds up. At the end, you have Fund 20, grants and entitlements, and debt service to give you the full $42,067,375. That's a picture of what you just saw in numbers.
Another picture. More numbers.
This is a comparison of the actual, original, and revised and proposed budgets from 2014 through 2017-18, but it's critical to see the increase, as you can see, is employee benefits as a percentage of their salary across the bottom. NJDOE, just so that you're aware, administrative costs, which has always been an issue when doing comparisons of different school district budgets. New Jersey Department of Education, for the central region, as you know, New Jersey is broken into south, central, and north. We're in the central region. The allowable amount per pupil is $2,040. So for the state not to make a negative comment through the county superintendent, because as you know, the budget has to be presented to the county superintendent for approval, and for there to be no negative comment on administrative costs, you cannot exceed an average of $2,040 per pupil cost, and the reality is that we're at $1,404 per pupil in administrative costs. Our total administrative cost is $1,420,824. The permitted state maximum for us would be $4,557,000. And this is the projected tax levy. As Matt likes to say, he works it on the average of $100,000 so that you can, as a public, apply to the value or the taxable rate for your home, which then comes out to, on the proposed tentative budget, the tax levy would be $66 per thousand.
100,000.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not living in, I don't want to say another town, it wouldn't be right. This is the tentative budget tax impact scenarios. And here is the tentative budget projected tax impact. His tax rate at per $100. And an increase on a home assessed at $100,000 would be $66. With the debt service reduction, net tax $65.70. And he always likes to close with not only about great students, great staff, community expectations, and in his absence tonight, and our thoughts are all with him tonight, I will thank his staff for the effort that they put in. He always mentions Tracy Buddis, Ginny Huber, and Sharon Carignano for all the work that they do in helping him get this budget put together and prepared. And I thank you for putting up with me in his absence. And that's the budget presentation.
Thank you very much.
Public things.
Yeah. So we are going to go to the public input at this point, and if there's anybody in the public that would like to come up and speak on items of the agenda.
No, just on the budget.
Oh,
Just on the budget.
Oh, just on the budget. Sorry. If anybody would like to come up and talk about the budget. Just about the budget.
Yes.
Please just give your name, Bonnie, and your address.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Lapp.
Everyone
Probably does that, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm used to being short and having Bonnie Lapison, 100 Stonehill Road, P2. And I'm here tonight because I'm curious to know, from what I understand, in the elementary schools, there was a school library media specialist, and that person retired. And I'm curious to know if that position is vacant, if it was ever filled, or if there are any plans to, in this proposed budget for a position for the lower schools.
No,
No.
no, we're not going to
So there's
fill them at the lower school.
So there's currently no library media specialist at Walton, at Sandmeyer, at FMG.
No, FMG is serviced by the high school media specialist when necessary.
And so how are the three schools getting information literacy taught to them in standards 3 and 8 without a certified state?
It's done
media
through
specialist?
the rest of the instructional program. It's infused throughout our curriculum and infused by the teachers and specials within the school building.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. We do have a media specialist
Here.
at the high school who will be providing any of the services that we would need there. But our assessment of it is that we're able to operate within these confines in this manner. We do have staff that provide access to materials, but the elementary libraries are a resource that's utilized by classroom teachers. And if there are needs for media or technology type material, we're going to be moving forward, and it's hopeful that as we move forward our technology department, we're going to be able to be providing services in a more advanced and technological way.
And just for clarification, FMG has a certified media library
No.
specialist? No.
They have someone who is assigned to maintain the room and the space for teachers to utilize and bring students in. But if there were needs for media type presentations, et cetera, we would make arrangements with the high school to have the media specialist from the high school do that.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, so moving on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, a couple of quick items. First, let's do which one? First one. One of our students, Scott Marin, has been identified as a qualifier for the SAT National Merit Scholarship. He will be notified, as will we will be notified as to what level his next stage of assessment and evaluation. The next stage, I think, there will be 16,000 National Merit semifinalists named. What's the date? They don't give an exact date. He's made it through the first round. He's a final. He's in the selection group, and he passed the qualifying test, met the requirements for the 2018 National Merit. Out of 1.5 million students, he's in the top 50,000.
Repeat that.
That's a senior, Mike?
I think he will be a senior.
Will be a
Yeah.
senior.
Usually, it's usually selected out of the
At
junior
the junior
class.
class,
Yeah.
got it.
That's amazing.
So we'll hear where his next stage is. So congratulations, Scott.
Congratulations, absolutely.
Next one. Emily Hochreiner and Sabrina Segura have been identified as Jonathan Dayton's scholars for the Scholar Breakfast that's coming up. And they'll be honored on June 7th, 2017, by the Union County Roundtable of Superintendents for outstanding scholars in the 2016-17 school year. It's a very nice event in which each of them and their families are honored. I know Jackie's been there both as a parent and as a board president. So if you'd like to say anything about that.
No, it usually can talk loud enough without this, but I'll turn it on. Or I won't. No, it's a wonderful event. There's a table for each school district, and the parents and the students and a board representative, Mr. Davino, and the building principal all attend. And each student is presented a plaque and given an award, and has, you hear about where all the students are going to college. And it's a really very, very nice morning event. So, and I'm happy. Unfortunately, Robin was unable to attend, so I get the pleasure of going. So thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a nice event, and
You're good.
our students fare very well when their selections for the colleges and the universities. It's pretty impressive, and when you see the kids that from all the other districts, it's a compelling experience to see them, because it honors. There are lots of sports awards dinners, and as an athlete and as a coach, etc. I certainly don't denigrate that, but it's nice to see kids who work hard at something else other than sports get an opportunity to be rewarded and recognized. And it's a good morning overall.
Sometimes in addition to sports.
Yes, and some of them are scholar athletes, yes. And the last piece. Okay. With great pride, here we go. This year's fall drama production of The Nerd has received Foxy nominations at Montclair State University's Theater Night Awards ceremony. Sophomore Harrison Reher has been nominated for Outstanding Performance by a Lead Actor in a Comedy. And sophomore Gabriella Zambrano Ortegon has been nominated for Outstanding Performance by a Supporting Actress in a Comedy. And we'll see how they do at the awards ceremony on May 15th.
That, just so everyone knows, that's open to the public. You can buy tickets. It's actually a really cool event. It's almost like the High School Academy Awards. I had gone one year, probably, it keeps going off. I had gone, I think, in 2008, which was one of the first years we actually participated in it. And it was just really, and it's a long evening because they have a ton of awards, but it's sort of like walking in on a red carpet. It's really pretty cool. And Montclair does it on a regular annually now, so it's really very, very nice. So
Do they categorize by size of school districts, or is it
No,
everyone's just all
it's
bundled together?
correct.
Just the performance.
That's very, very you know.
And they
like-
send people out, or you submit videos of your performances, and that's how they select. And each category has 3 or 4 nominations. And they, open the envelope and they announce who wins. It's really very cool.
It is.
Right.
Continuing in that vein, several students from FMG and Jonathan Dayton have been selected to move on based upon their performances at the Union County Teen Arts Festival. So, in the next minute or so, I'm going to make you aware of this, and I want you to revel in our diversity. This is just an incredible opportunity. JDHS Portfolio Art Student. And if you're watching this, family, I apologize if I don't get this right. Xiao Rain Liu was selected to represent all of Union County at the New Jersey State Teen Arts Festival at Ocean Community College in June. She also was selected to have her work displayed at the Union County Teen Arts Touring exhibit that goes around. Congratulations to Ms. Liu. In addition to, they call her Rain, R-A-I-N, following students were selected to have their artwork also be part of the touring exhibit. Portfolio art student JDHS Nisarj Gandhi, JDH Foundations in Craft student Rachel Valley, FMG student Yegi Mun, and FMG student Gabriella Lipkin will all have their work part of the traveling exhibit of outstanding artists in Union County. And finally, the FMG Lee, which is the FMG Glee Club, have been invited to the Union County Teen Arts Showcase presentation at the Union County Theater to present their choral and their songs, etc. So,
That's on Monday, May 8th.
okay.
That's because it's my daughter's birthday and she's gonna go there. So, but it's our board meeting, so that's fine. Just saying. It's on Monday, May 8th.
Congratulations to all of those students.
That's great.
Congratulations to their dedicated teachers, and congratulations to the board for constantly supporting the arts in this school district.
Your mic got cut,
Yeah,
Mike.
you might got cut. Is there any way photos or something of the artwork could be put on our website? So
Great idea.
we
We'll
could
do
see
it.
it?
We'll get on it. Absolutely.
Can we also put it on the marquee outside, recognizing the students, maybe at FMG as well as
Absolutely.
here as well?
We'll do that too. We'll get it on each of the, particularly since we now have these digital boards that can constantly reflect
Yeah,
that.
it's great.
So yes, we'll get that up.
That'd be great.
And
We
at
just got that today, so it's fresh.
Hot off the press.
And if they could, even at FMG, send a listserv to let the families know, parents know about the May 8th
Absolutely.
performance, because people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's Raleigh, right? Where
Yeah, the union, I
Yep,
believe
Union
so.
County,
It's
yep.
the one that where we used to have graduation.
That's wrong.
Okay. That constitutes the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
I move to accept and approve the superintendent's report as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Silverstein, seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. We are going to go to the business portion. A pink public input, okay. 'Cause we
On the agenda.
On the agenda. Public input on the agenda. If anybody would like to come up and speak about anything on the agenda? Nope, okay. Moving on now to the business portion. Mr. Donna, would you call finance, please?
Sure. I move motions 1 through 7. Roll call. 1 through 8. Roll call vote.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Donna, seconded by Mr. Munoz. Any discussion? No? Okay, Ms. Atherton, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Donner,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Munoz,
Yes.
Mrs. Shanis,
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull,
Yes.
Mr. Walcott,
Yes.
Mrs. Silverschlag,
Yes.
Mr. Cornelison, Mrs. Cornelison.
He's at home. Yes.
It's the second time.
I know, right, second time. Okay, motion passes. Mr. Silverstein, school government, please.
I'd like to move motions 1 through 8 with a roll call vote.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Silverstein, seconded by Mr. Munoz. Any discussion?
Just wanted to thank Mr. Noor for donating the baritone horn as someone who tortured his parents in 8th grade trying and failing to learn how to play that. I certainly hope that whoever gets to play Mr. Noor's will do a better job than I did. And again, to thank Mrs. Gerst's sons for the very generous donation and the lovely letter that they sent. It's very much appreciated and will be put to good use in the English Language Arts Department at FMG.
Anything else? All right, would you please call it?
Mr. Donner?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Shanis?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Walcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Zilberschlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Cornelison?
Yes, motion passes. Mr. Wolcott, would you call buildings and grounds, please?
Certainly, I would like to move motions 1 through 4 with a roll call vote.
Moved by Mr. Wolcott, motion, seconded by Mr. Munoz. Any discussion? Mrs. Atherton, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Donner?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Shanis?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Walcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Silberschlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Cornelison?
Yes, motion passes. Mark Miller, Mr. Miller, would you please call sports?
Getting casual.
Sorry.
Hey, Mark, you're up.
I'd like to move item 1 with a roll call vote, please.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mrs. Zilberschlag. Any discussion?
Yeah, how come he's Mark?
Mike, is this a flat amount every year? Does it ever increase to 2150?
Whenever NJSIA increases it, yes.
When they decide.
Don't give him any ideas.
Yeah, this is
Said that amount for a while.
this is approving membership in the NJSIA for our athletic teams, just
Right.
for anyone listening.
And, Steve, you mentioned the issue of the residency, but you know that the commissioner turned down the transfer rule,
Yes, the transfer.
and that
Again.
will be addressed going forward.
Mrs. Atherton, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Donner?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Shanis?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Walcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Silverschlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Cornelison?
Yes, motion passes.
While we're on sports,
I am getting so good at this. I have one more meeting to go, guys, and I'm going to do it.
That's why.
while we were on sports, I just wanted to mention that as we've gone through this process, I was able to watch the boys lacrosse team compete against New Providence the other day, and the team is functioning, and the kids are out there, and they're working hard, and it was just nice to see them out there and playing on their home field. And I haven't gotten any feedback yet, but I am sure that they were very satisfied with that experience. Good for them.
All right, we're at open public session. So now, would anybody like to come up and open public session? Please come up and state your name.
Well, I would like to invite 2 members of the audience. We have with us this evening, you've just authorized their hiring as of July 1st. Please, one at a time, come up, introduce yourself to the board.
That mic's pretty sensitive. You can.
Hi, I'm Evan Subak. Thank you. Very nice to meet you all. And I'm really excited to get going with you guys.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Looking forward to working with you.
Yes, you
Thank
too.
you.
What were you teaching?
Our new director of technology for those who aren't aware of that. Okay.
Hi, my name is Janet Pacheco, and I will be your new Director of HR and PD. Very excited to join this team. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
do new business and old business together. Does anybody have any new
I
business?
have a new business motion
Oh,
that we
oh,
need to
great. New
approve
business
tonight. We have prepared.
Your
a
mic's not on, Jack.
I'm talking loud enough. We have a sidebar agreement to our contract with the SEA. As we've discussed in the past, and we appointed a summer school director tonight, we're extending our summer school program from 4 weeks to 5 weeks. So we need to adjust the contractual salary. So in essence, all the sidebar is doing is changing the salary to $7,540.35 this evening for this summer. Next year, it goes up by the 2%, so it's $7,691.16. And for 2018, it goes up to $7,844.92. So we need to have a motion to approve that this evening. So I move to approve the sidebar for execution by both, by our board president, and then once it's approved here, it will go over to the SEA for approval.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Shina, seconded by Mr. Silverstein. You doing all in favor?
Where-
Is it a roll call?
Can we do a roll call, because two of us have to abstain?
Can we have discussion?
And
Yes,
we
we
have
can have
discussion?
discussion, we need to have discussion.
I'm just curious what was behind the decision to extend it to 5 weeks from 4?
We have added we've added a STEM camp component for the 5th week. And it's it's an almost an all day camp experience, 8 to 3 o'clock.
July 31st through August 4th.
Right. It's 5 days, 5 full days, and it's a program that we became familiar with through
There were 2 districts, Cranford.
Cranford and
Cranford's definitely using it because when they came to the visit.
right.
We spoke about it.
I know it's Cranford, and maybe Berkeley Heights, it may be Summit or whatever. But it's there are 2 ways to run the program. One, we could just contract with the outside company, and they would come in and they would hire staff, et cetera. But the optics of it, we weren't comfortable with. We felt since unlike the other districts, we do have an enrichment camp and program. We initially were trying to incorporate it into the 4 weeks, but we couldn't make it work in order to get sufficient staffing and the type of enrichment programs that we currently run in the 8 to 12 period. This being, we were going to run it 8 to 12 and run it for 2 weeks instead of 1. But then we had issues with parents who would want the kids in 4 sessions, and then what happens at the end of 2, and it just became too convoluted. And so we decided to approach it in conversation with the company to consider adding it at the end rather than even doing 1 week at the beginning or whatever. We did, Greg Salmon, along with the principals, sent out a survey, and the responses that we got from the public, this is how they wanted it, and we agreed with that, and so we decided to extend the summer program by 1 week.
So what would the fee structure be for, because if I recall, if you're taking summer school classes, you're paying by the class, by the hour class.
Yes.
So what would
This
this be
is
the
a
equivalent
flat
of?
fee for
$275
$275 for the whole program.
K through 8.
And, okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yes,
about.
K through 8.
It's K through 8.
It's the current.
There's it's all day, it's a lunch period, but they have to provide their own lunches. They're told to bring in their lunch. The staff will be with the kids during all that time. And we sent a survey because in working with the company, we had numbers and ideas from other districts, what they experienced. And we got over 200 positive responses.
So it's current K through 8.
Yes.
Yes.
It's current, I thought it's current pre-K.
It's really
It's current
rising
rising kindergarten
K-8.
to 8.
Going in
Rising
pre-K.
No,
No, rising kindergarten.
outgoing eighth graders
Rising.
will have the opportunity, though, and it brings back to another issue. They can work in that and gain some of their community service hours.
For high school?
uh,
Ninth grade.
For ninth grade.
Oh, wow.
They have enough opportunity during the summer camp program,
Yes.
during the enrichment program and the STEM week.
Right.
They could complete their required 40 hours this summer.
Can you just confirm that? Because in the past, the way the volunteering has worked, the community service aspect of it has worked is if you couldn't commit.
Turn on your microphone.
You're on.
You're hot.
If you couldn't commit, the way I understood it used to work in the past, was a 4-week summer school program. If you wanted to volunteer to accumulate community service hours, you needed to commit from day 1 until day 20.
So you can't just do
You
10
can't
hours
just
here,
do-
10 hours
right.
there.
So I just want to know, can you just confirm that if a student, for example, is going to be on vacation the first week of summer school, would that student still be able to come back and pick up, not on week 2 of summer school, but come back and volunteer
I know what
for
you're
the
saying.
enrichment?
And I will give you a political answer. I'm not sure.
I was like,
Thank you, Mr. President.
Actually, it's something I have to research. Logic.
I
I mean, I know what logic-
understand
Right,
why, and I'm not,
consistency.
I'm not, my issue is not the way that
But
you
I
have to
think
commit
it's-
to the 4 weeks, I
It's
get
got to
that.
be communicated
But
properly.
if
Yes.
you can open it up to kids in the last week, that would be awesome.
somewhere.
Yes.
That's
I will make sure that we get that cleared and established so that eighth graders going into ninth grade
Yeah.
will have a clear understanding, as will 10th, et cetera. So with the 2 different programs, there clearly is sufficient time for them to really put away a certain number of hours. So we'll see what we can do on that.
Right, and if we
and-
can do that, I'm sorry, if we can do that and let kids just do that 1 week who aren't able to commit to the full summer, with an 8 to 3 course, they can still knock out most of
Yeah, that's
their,
half of
their
their
freshman
hours.
year.
37
But-
hours.
And they will be made aware of this opportunity. Am I-
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because I can just see parents saying, wait, I
didn't
didn't
know.
hear about that.
No,
So
The
that
guidance
goes to the
counselors
high
are very
school.
good
Okay,
work
okay.
telling them what's available.
That's important.
Yes, we will make sure that
Okay,
that's
I just-
communicated.
Okay. Is there, so is there any other discussion?
But I should clarify.
Mhm.
So there's just gonna be 2, basically sessions. It's the regular
4
4-week
weeks.
and then this other 2 week. It's,
Correct.
it's
One
the
week.
One
other
week.
one week,
1
1
week.
week.
5 weeks total.
Yeah, sorry, 1 week, right. The 1 week, so they're totally 2 separate things and we're gonna
Yes,
fill it out.
two
Okay.
separate,
Yes.
2 separate
Even though it's
programs,
all one
2 separate fee structures, 2 different, one is clearly STEM-oriented, prepackaged program with curriculum and a variety of project-based learning for K-8 kids. And pretty intensive, but also from our evaluation of the other districts, an extremely popular program. Very popular. And as I said, we got over 200 responses, and we will be capped and at 160. And unless we get some enormous surge that allows us to add additional personnel, but we're paying a licensing fee, and we're running it through our system with our teachers running the program.
So it'll be first come, first served
Yes.
for enrollment.
That's what's being prepared to go out, that there are limited seats, first come, first served.
Any other discussion? No? Okay, so we have to do a roll call.
Roll call?
Want to give you practice?
Go.
Mr. Donner?
Abstain.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Abstain.
Mrs. Shanis?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Mr. Walcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Silverschlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Cornelison?
Yes. Motion passes. Good job,
My God.
Good job, Ellen.
All right. Any other new business?
I have some old business.
Mr. Miller.
I just wanted to remind everybody that our policy committee meeting Monday, May 1st, we're not going to start till 6:30. And we need to have the 400 series, 4,000 series
I'm like, there's no
regs
400.
and policy and regs, 400.
Email me.
4,000, thank you. And should we email them to Mr. Clark if we have not done so already?
Yes.
Is that's so
But-
he's receiving
By the end of the
emails?
week.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
I
Okay.
would just encourage the committee to keep the comments from the 3,000s handy, because this is the non-certificated component, and a lot of the policies.
in
So
3,000.
I know I put a note at the top of mine. I'm not going and re-commenting on everything I did. So if I commented on the 3,000, I still don't like it in the 4,000.
Okay,
so.
okay, Hector.
Oh, so you're saying it's essentially the same?
No, there's a bunch of other stuff, but to the extent that I already made the comment on the similar provision, I'm not rewriting it. You know.
You have to read it.
But in some cases, 4112 may be the same than the non-certificated equivalent of 3112.
Right.
If the comment was the same, I didn't bother redoing it again.
Okay, now I understand.
Reinventing the
That
wheel.
makes sense.
But there's a bunch of other stuff that
If you
doesn't
can,
apply.
please get them by, no later, like by Wednesday of this week. Be great.
Is Matt, we have to get them to Matt?
Yes,
Yeah.
as usual.
By the end of the week.
They'll be back by the
I
end.
know you
He's
do
reading emails, so
hard
yes.
copies
Yes.
rather than digital, right, Alyssa?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give it to you. I have it.
Likewise.
I'm just gonna give it to you. I have it.
Well, the problem with doing that, then Matt they don't make copies.
He'll make copies of when we arrive.
I'll scan
put the
mine
hard
and
copy?
send them.
All right, mine, he has
He
mine.
makes copies, but she's saying if you don't send them digital, he can't print them out, so.
Right, or give him, as long as he
Yeah, I'll
gets.
get these to him, no
I
problem.
did
Well, why
it.
don't you just
Well,
give
I'll be
it-
back Wednesday, Alan.
I will do
Or-
it.
If you give it to Ellen, then she can have.
We're not sure.
Latitude does do.
All right. Any other
No.
new business, old business?
No business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Donner, seconded by Mr.
Well, we
Miller.
could discuss it for a while.
Any discussion?
Thanks, Mr.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?